Hey guys, good morning. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Kevin Schmidt. I'm a physical therapist over here at Pedal PT. Of course, I'm not in the clinic right now. I'm actually at my house, but I wanted to take a little minute today. We talk and we hear so many people talk about motion capture with bike fitting, and people call our office to say, what kind of motion capture system do you guys use? So what I wanted to do is take this moment and actually just go through kind of the top three, maybe four, the top reasons why motion capture might actually possibly create a worse bike fit scenario. So let's kind of break that down. Let's unpack that. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Kevin Schmidt. I'm a physical therapist, passionate bicyclist, and bike fitter. We've opened up Pedal PT in 2012. I've been in the office for about 6 years now and continue to grow and expand. I now have 2 other PTs that are working for us. And we see the full gamut of bike fitting from your elite level racer, gravel grinding, commuters, upright cyclists, e-bikes, recumbents, tandems, you name it, we fit it. Kind of our methodology or mindset is if you can ride it, we'll happily fit you to that bike with the goal of achieving pain-free cycling and riding as much as you like, whenever you'd like, wherever you'd like, just without pain. Now, so let's talk a little bit about motion capture. For those of you that don't know what motion capture is, it involves a lot of times some of your familiar systems would be Dartfish, Retul, things of that nature. There's a lot of them out there. Specialized has kind of their own system as well. But usually what these involve is getting a rider on a stationary trainer. There's these certain nodes or little points that they will put on certain anatomical landmarks on the shoulder and on the hip and on the knee and the ankle. And what those do is create a live feed of movement. So what you'll see if you look on a computer screen is a kind of a moving stick figure of that cyclist pedaling. So a lot of times those bike fitters then are using that data then to look at angles, look at positioning to help them understand perhaps maybe why that cyclist is having pain and making adjustments or possibly upselling equipment and the such based on those measurements. So let's talk about that a little bit. So first and foremost, the number one reason why motion capture might actually create a worse bike fit is that, number one, millimeters matter in bike fit. And what I mean by that, if your saddle is off or your cleats are off by as little as 5 millimeters, that is a significant difference in bike fitting. Now, if we look at the body and we look at finding and palpating bony landmarks with these nodes and nodules and putting them on our body, there is a great room for error to the average bike fitter or your average bike shop bike fitter. So 5 millimeters, very tiny motion to miss. So if they are not correctly identifying bony landmarks, those numbers are already thrown off. And if they are basing the entire bike fit on this specialized tool that shows them motion, oftentimes they're going to be off by quite a bit, and the bike fit is not going to make that rider happy or literally change the symptoms that they're having. I always tend to think about the more data, the more tools we use, the more that people focus on this equipment, the less they actually look at the actual cyclist, put their hands on the cyclist, and listen to what the cyclist is telling you when they're doing the bike fit. So oftentimes, the common scenario that we will tend to see in the clinic is someone will come in, they'll say they're having knee pain on the bike, we set them up on the trainer, we talk to them a little bit about their previous bike fits, and the client inevitably says, well, you know, I went and spent $300 to $400 at so-and-so bike shop. I was sitting on this bike trainer and the person performing or the bike fitter had their back turned to me and was looking at a computer screen. And I was looking at this motion and this moving of this stick figure next to them. And so as the rider is riding, they're saying, you know, gosh, my knee is really hurting really bad. And the person with their back to them says, no, this actually looks perfect. Right on this computer screen, this looks really, really great. And the rider says, are you sure my knee is really hurting? And the person says, nope, this looks great. According to the computer screen, this all looks perfect. Now, again, we're basing so much emphasis on the data and so much emphasis on these moving stick figures. And like we said, a lot of times these little nodules and nodes will move with sweat and with movement. So they're basing their entire bike fit on flawed information, I guess is the best way to say that. Also, when we go side to side, they have to kind of do one side, then they'll flip you around, go to the other side to check that. Again, there's a lot of variability. It's been proven that those little dots will move around. And again, if we're basing our entire bike fit off of this big fancy equipment, boy, a lot of times that's what results in a lot of times an unsatisfied customer who is now out $300 to $400, $500 as well. Like I said, number two. So like I said, so that would be number one. Palpation skills of your average bike shop bike fitter are poor, and we're basing all of our data and all our adjustments off of that. So again, you're starting kind of with a bad setup anyway. And if they're going to base all their adjustments and movements based on those numbers, you're kind of like, not really getting the best quality, because a bike shop bike fitter is not a physical therapist. They do not know anatomy or your physiology well, or the ability to palpate these bony landmarks well. Okay, number two is it's very time consuming. Like I said, a lot of us are busy. We don't want to come in and get a 3-hour bike fit. And I will tell you that 3 hours is not necessary for a good quality bike fit. A bike fit that is performed by a good quality person should be done in roughly an hour. It shouldn't take 3 hours. But a lot of times, if you were to really sit back and look at how much time is actually spent prepping things, getting cameras ready, getting lasers ready, all this kind of stuff to prove to the client that they probably need to buy new equipment is kind of a waste of time, when ultimately symptoms dictate bike fit. And if we are not actually looking at that person, talking with that person, or understanding where that pain is coming from, then it doesn't matter what motion capture system, or if you spent $17,000, or if you have a fancy, guru fit bike, it just doesn't matter. So I would just kind of advise you to kind of step back a little bit, actually look at your clients, put your hands on them, and actually understand what kind of symptoms they're having, because the reason people come and get bike fit is not because they want to buy new equipment, is because they do not feel comfortable. They're having pain, or they're having symptoms on the bike. They're not coming in to kind of find out that their knee angle is 32. That doesn't really matter anything to those guys. What matters to them is for them to be able to ride as much as they'd like, for whatever reason, and without pain. That's why they're coming to see you. Now, the trouble is in bike fit industry, roughly probably 85 to 90% of all bike fitting being performed in today in America is being performed by bike shop employees, guys that build bikes, take bikes apart, so they have a lot of good wrenching skills. However, those people in general tend to have about a high school education and then went to a weekend course or two on bike fitting. And that's pretty much what it takes to become a certified bike fitter these days. Everybody that takes the class becomes a certified fitter, and every single system that's out there is designed to assess the body, but create a scenario that ultimately results in an upsell. Sorry to break it to you guys, but bike industry is in it for bike industry. So if you come in and you have hand numbness or hand pain, guess what? You're getting new bar wrap, you're getting new handlebars, or you're getting new gloves. If you've got foot pain or foot numbness, you're probably going to get new shoes, new cleats, and or new pedals. If you have saddle pain, it's got to be the saddle, so you've got to buy numerous saddles or try out a variety of saddles. Again, these are individuals that do not understand how the human body kind of interacts with that bike, the anatomy, the physiology, to be able to assess the body, to actually figure out where the pain is coming from, to create those scenarios, to be able to create clinical judgment so as to make those adjustments to the bike, okay? So I think we're on number one or number two. Number three is these systems, these Retul systems, these motion capture systems are basically designed to put everyone in the same box. No matter whether you are 19 years old and an elite level racer, or 60 years old on a road bike, all the parameters are all being put in the same box. And ultimately, every one of our bodies is uniquely different. We have asymmetries from left side to right side. We also have previous injuries. We tend to see people sometimes that have lumbar fusions or previous injuries or range of motion restrictions, or can't bend their knee past 100 degrees, can only turn their head 10 degrees to the right and are getting neck pain. So there's other orthopedic things that we need to think about. But when we put things purely in motion capture, it has nothing to evaluate the actual body and the person that wants to be able to ride. Okay, so when we put all our data in and we make these beautiful motion capture pictures that look amazing on Instagram and Facebook that show before and after, you guys, you got to realize Angles don't necessarily mean symptom resolution. I think these guys tend to do this just because it shows, look, I did this, and look at what the angle changed. I am so smart. Look at me, I made the right decision. When ultimately, a lot of times, they'll put these lasers on their knees to ensure they're tracking correctly when that patient never even had, or that client never even had knee pain to begin with on the bike. So again, they're chasing things that really don't necessarily need to be addressed. It's time consuming, and ultimately the data provided by these motion capture sensors is inconsistent and unreliable. My suggestion to you is to find a bike fitter that actually understands your body, that will actually listen to you, talk to you, go over your health history, and will actually look at your body, look for asymmetries, will go through any sort of previous injuries you've had, if you've had crashes on the bike. That is going to be much more valuable information for a bike fit than seeing what a moving stick figure or what all these motions and angles mean. Angles don't necessarily mean pain. You can have an angle that's a little bit off, but if that person is not having symptoms, their body is adapted to that and they're fine. So don't try to fix things that don't need to be fixed, I guess is what that comes down to. Ultimately, also, pick a bike fitter that actually watches you ride the bike, puts their hands on you, and understands what you're feeling and what the comfort that you're feeling, the pressure difference between the saddle and the hands, what's happening with our motion. Is there accessory motion? How are we pedaling? Is one foot pedaling and reaching too far at the bottom? That's what we want to really be basing our judgment off of versus these motion capture systems that, again, are based on clinical judgment. It just doesn't happen, guys. And so ultimately, all I want to do is bring to the point that in bike world, if you look at BikeFit and you were to close your eyes and imagine what BikeFit is to look like, you're going to imagine an elite level road cyclist with all these fancy equipment, maybe in a wind tunnel and all that. And that, I have to tell you guys, is literally 2% of the entire biking market. There are so many more people out there that deserve a quality bike fit and the ability to ride pain-free, and those people are our commuters, the people on upright bikes, the people that ride a bike and to choose to ride a bike instead of a car. Everybody deserves to ride a bike pain-free, and if we put so much emphasis on this expensive, time-consuming equipment that a lot of times isn't really the valuable data that we need, then you're going to ultimately get a bad bike fit, and you're not going to be satisfied with the result. And ultimately, you're going to be out another $400 to $500, depending on how that goes. I guess some things to think about, guys. Again, my name's Kevin. I'm a physical therapist over here in Portland, Oregon. I own a clinic called Pedal PT, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have about this. But again, step back and think about understanding of the body versus understanding the bike. It's more valuable to understand the body side of things, to be able to understand where your pain is coming from, that we can actually relate that then to your bike fit versus putting your bike on a trainer and saying that this angle is off, so I need to adjust your saddle. Again, think about it, guys. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. We'll see you. Bye.